Can you think of an approach to learning that has stood the test of time better than the Socratic method? This learning methodology is now over 2,400 years old, but it's no historical relic. It's a living, breathing testament to the power of inquiry, open debate, and the pursuit of truth. It turns learning into a collaborative conversation where learners use thought-provoking questions to drive towards a deeper understanding. Like Carl Jung once said, the right question is already half the solution of a problem. I'm Harry from Growth Engineering, and today we're going to be channeling ancient wisdom by exploring the Socratic Method in depth. We'll examine its key principles, its benefits, its challenges, and whether it's still relevant for modern learners. Okay, knowledge lovers, let's get started. The Socratic Method gets its name from none other than the grandfather of philosophy himself, Socrates. Now, there are very few people who can claim to have shaped the intellectual and cultural development of the world. Socrates managed to achieve this without leaving behind a single published work or any records of his teaching. He was born around 470 BCE in Athens and went on to become one of the most influential figures in all of Western philosophy. One of the reasons why he's so highly regarded is his pioneering approach to teaching. Okay, let's break it down. The Socratic method is based on the conversational techniques used by Socrates in Plato's dialogues. These approaches are characterized by relentless inquiry, as opposed to the standard sage on a stage approaches that were popular during Socrates' time. I like to think of this as kind of like a coordinated dance, guided by a series of questions that aim to stimulate critical thinking and improve learning outcomes. In fact, in Plato's Theaetetus, Socrates compares his approach to midwifery, in that it's his attempt to give birth to truth through persistent examination. Okay, let's take a look at this heavily condensed example from Plato's dialogue Euthyphro about the nature of piety. Socrates starts by asking, "What is piety?" Euthyphro then responds, "Piety is doing what I'm doing, prosecuting the wrongdoer." But Socrates then challenges this assumption by asking, "But how do you know what you're doing is pious?" He then continues to ask Euthyphro a series of questions, tangling him up in a web of contradictions and false presuppositions. This is often the way with Plato's dialogues. The Socratic method can be broken down into 5 core principles. The first of these is questioning. As we've seen, learners aren't spoon-fed information. They use well-crafted questions to uncover insights for themselves. The second principle is that this approach is a form of dialectical inquiry. In other words, learning here is a two-way street where open dialogue is encouraged. The third principle is reflection. As questions get asked, assumptions get challenged, information gets analysed, and hopefully we come out the other side better informed. By being a part of this approach and asking questions and reflecting on information, learners become actively engaged. That's principle number 4. There's no way you can be part of a Socratic learning approach and just passively listen. Finally, the Socratic method foregrounds critical thinking, as it's only by questioning and analysing information that we can begin to develop intellectual rigour. Given these principles, you can start to get a sense of why this approach to learning has been so durable over time. After all, it empowers learners to take ownership and control over their learning journey. It also encourages active engagement and can stimulate key critical thinking skills. In fact, there are even studies that show that this ancient learning approach can still have a major impact on learning outcomes today. However, there is a flip side to all this. The open-ended nature of the Socratic method could cause discomfort to learners who are used to a more rigid and structured approach. What's more, using reflection, questioning, and critical thinking is typically more time-consuming than just spelling it out for your learners. Not all of us have the luxury of being able to indulge in a spot of dialectical inquiry along the lines of the Socratic method. And finally, let's not forget that there are certain subject matters that benefit from a more direct instructional approach, such as the use of demonstrations and scenario-based learning. For instance, if I was to teach a group of learners how to operate a set of heavy machinery, I probably wouldn't rely on the Socratic method. With that said, this approach is far from outdated. There are so many benefits that come from fostering a culture of reflection, questioning, and critical thinking. By doing so, you'll encourage your audience to become active agents in their learning journeys. So heed Socrates' wisdom, keep questioning, keep engaging, and keep learning. Okay, that's it from me today. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.